On today's episode of the Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings podcast, Maxwell Baumbach and I are going to predict our all-rookie first and second teams, as well as who will be the NBA's Rookie of the Year in 2025-26.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings, your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Nathan Grubel, current No Ceilings contributor, scouting consultant, evaluator of prospects over the last 15 years. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network and are available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, review. Joining me this week is my co-host, lead columnist, creator of the No Stone Unturned series for No Ceilings, is Maxwell Baumbach. Maxwell, you excited today?
I am beyond excited, and I'm glad you mentioned No Stone Unturned because a couple of those guys might be sneaking into my first and second all-rookie teams. I'm really excited about this one. It's always fun to get to talk NBA, and that's something I'm really excited about getting to do more of here on the Locked On feed.
100%. Maxwell's correct about that. If you have not read his No Stone Unturned series for NoCeilingsNBA.com, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, go check it out. You can find the current iteration that he just finished publishing. You can find prior iterations. Everything that Maxwell's done in that realm, you can find on NoCeilingsNBA.com because it's important content. You can learn about these guys before they even hit the NBA in their rookie year. So, like Maxwell said, today we're going to be finishing up our 2025-26 NBA preview series. We're going to be talking about our predictions for the NBA's all-rookie first and second teams, and we're going to make our picks for Rookie of the Year. Before we get started, do want to shout out the other members of the Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings team, both Tyler Rucker, Tyler Metcalf. Just released an episode reacting to the AP's college basketball preseason top 25 rankings, while Corey Tulaba and Albert Gim covered Iowa's Bennett Sturtz and why he has the highest basketball IQ in the upcoming 2026 NBA draft class. Both episodes are available to watch and listen to wherever you get your podcast. All right, Maxwell, we're talking rookies today. We're going to start out with our all-rookie first teams. You and I certainly have a few overlappers on our first teams, which is to be expected, just given where we see the top of this draft class and where it's settled out. But Maxwell, why don't you start us off? Why don't you read off your first team? I'll read off my first team, and then we're going to go back and forth about a few guys who may have some differing opinions on.
Yeah, so before we even get into that, I want to talk about methodology just real quickly. One of the big things I did for this exercise, something I would encourage anyone interested in the scouting space to do, which is just look at the historical data. Who are the guys that tend to make first and second team all-rookie, and what does that usually look like? So historically, first team all-rookie usually consists of about 3 top 5 picks, a lottery level pick, and a mid to late first round pick. Generally what you're getting are 3 one and done age players, whether they're true freshmen or they played internationally, 1 sophomore and 1 upperclassman. The other thing too, and this is going to tie into first and second team all rookie, I was surprised how much younger it skewed, which is why a lot of teams can be a little bit age averse and why we saw some of the young players picked in the first round of this last draft. And I will also say too, I thought the physicality and athleticism threshold was quite a bit higher across the board than I anticipated. The idea that these like older but less athletic, prospects are going to come in and contribute right away does not really bear itself out as well if we're talking about the most impactful 10 guys in year one. Yep. Maybe down the road they adjust to the speed of the NBA, they get there, but I think that's a fallacy you want to be really careful of. My first team all rookie, Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, and now here's where we're going to get a little bit funky with the next 3. This could go off the rails a little bit. Ace Bailey. So there's my 3 one and done guys, my 3 top 5 picks. For my sophomore late lottery guy, we're going Colin Murray-Boyles. And then for my veteran prospect, later first round pick, give me Walter Clayton Jr.
Let's go.
Former No Stone Unturned prospect with the Utah Jazz. That's my first team all rookie prediction.
Let's go. First off, anyone who just got done listening to Maxwell's outline of the historical data regarding how these teams generally fare out, please go back, re-listen to that. It's important information, whether you're an evaluator, whether you're a content creator, an awards bettor, basically any angle that you can possibly think of that involves the rookies or awards data in general. When you're looking to even make some wagers on this type of stuff, it's important to do the historical research. So that's why when Maxwell said he was doing that, I'm like, I was thinking of doing that before this episode. So thank God one of us did it, because it was awesome data to be able to provide to the audience. So listen, I love your first team. My first team, like I said, overlap: Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. I think those are going to be pretty universal picks across the board. But then
should we talk about Ace real quick for first team? Because I feel like that's the one that some people might be surprised by.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think a lot of it's going to be opportunity. Like I just think he's one of the rookies that will have a clear-cut role. This is a team that's really been thin on the wing the last couple of years as it is. They've got a lot of playmakers on this team. And I think just the way that they've weaponized him in the preseason, I feel really good about his role in year one. Like I've always kind of thought that the idealized role for Ace was him being like mega Cam Johnson. And I think it's going to kind of shake out that way, or at least it appears that it could early on.
So 2 reasons why I thought that was a fairly obvious selection for all rookie first team. Not to say that we're looking at this from a narrow point of view by any means, but I think number one, we've already seen in the preseason how often and willing they're willing to go to Ace as a shot maker. He's not necessarily doing a lot of one-on-one isolation, pick and roll, creation, downhill type of stuff, but they are feeding him shots at a very high clip. And I would expect that to be kind of hand in hand with my second point, which is they already employ a player named Lauri Markkanen, who, listen, Lauri was good before he got to the Jazz. Let's not just say that he was a discovery of Utah's and he's a product of Will Hardy's system wholeheartedly, but they found really great ways to utilize him in a lot of similar ways. And so you take into the account that Ace Bailey was already coming into the NBA, expected to have a high shot diet just because of what he wants his offensive role to be. And you're mixing that with an offensive coaching staff who knows how to utilize a player like him. I think, to your point, Maxwell, opportunity, volume, counting stats, it's going to be pretty easy to look at Ace at the end of the year, even if he's not the most efficient prospect out of the bunch in this rookie class. I think it's going to be pretty safe to say he's going to have every opportunity to make all rookie first team. And I personally would be very surprised if he didn't make it. So I think you and I are in lockstep on those first 3. Where I differ from you is I went VJ Edgecombe on my first team. So he's another one of those like lottery type guys. And then I actually followed your historical methodology without even realizing I was doing it. I went Nick Clifford as my last first team guy. And
got it.
Look, Nick Clifford for me, he's been incredible in the preseason, Maxwell. It's look, I know some of the shooting stuff people are going to pick nits with. Like he shooting was his biggest question mark coming out of college. He's 31% in the preseason, very small sample size. Really turned around a lot of his spot up 3-point shooting in his last year at Colorado State. And I think he's certainly worked himself into a healthier shot diet. He's more confident with his stroke. He's looking to take those types of shots more often. I think the 3-point shot's going to be there for him, but he's been absurd finishing at the rim. He's 14 of 16 on shots at the rim already this preseason. He's been racking up some steals, making some plays on the defensive end. And then the playmaking, Maxwell. He's had games of 7 assists and 9 assists already in the preseason. And you know, from scouting him, like all of us at No Ceilings really gravitated towards Nick Clifford because of the type of athlete that he was in like a 6'5", 6'6" frame. He's strong. He runs the floor well in transition, but it's not just those athletic traits to where he's utilizing everything he has as a play finisher, Maxwell. He's really tying things together as a passer and someone who can play out of pick and roll. He can make those secondary reads when he's cutting to the rim, catching, and then redirecting traffic. He just knows how to move the ball across so many different play styles that I think he's going to put up not just scoring numbers, but we know the rebounding is going to end up translating. He was an awesome rebounder in college. He's going to make plays for others. I think the Kings are going to have a hard time not playing him and a large amount of minutes because of the value he's going to bring on both sides of the ball. He's given me so much optimism in the preseason to where I would look at him as a potential dark horse rookie of the year candidate. That's how good I feel about Nick Clifford. The other guy you differed on, Maxwell, why did you go with Colin Murray-Boyles in the first team?
Yeah, so I'll sneak in Walter Clayton real quick. I just think in Utah, I'm just not as big on Isaiah Collier and Keontae George as others. I worry about the interior stuff with Keontae George and the consistency with Collier. It's the outside stuff. I think Walter Clayton's like sort of the best like combination of those two players where there is the shot making, and I've been really impressed with his poise as a playmaker during the preseason. And I think he's like I think he's going to be one of the best shooters in the league. Like I think he's an unbelievable shooter shot maker, and I think that matters a lot. With Colin Murray-Boyles, I think the Raptors like front court depth is a little bit overstated.
Okay.
I mean, you've got Barnes, you've got Mobo, you've got Jakob Poeltl. I just think there's going to be real opportunity for CMB to play. And I think in their style with like how well they manage to leverage just guys who are big and can do stuff with the ball and can rebound and pass and get out in the open floor. And with what he's going to bring defensively, just the multitude of positions that he's going to be able to guard. And I think the defense, like he's one of those sneaky guys, like there's going to be issues with like, stuff here and there fouling or whatever, and consistency at times, as with all rookies. But I think that he's like a sneaky, hey, the usage was really high, and when he can just totally lock into the defense, it might be a little bit better than you're projecting kind of players. So I think you're just going to get a good, like, all-around level of production, and I think the way that he's going to do it is going to really intrigue people and get people excited.
So I did not have, as a little bit of a spoiler, Colin Murray-Boyles on either of my all-rookie teams.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that purely because I don't know what that opportunity is going to look like with him in the front court. If Toronto really is coming out to try and win as many games as possible, I don't know how many minutes are going to be available for some of the young guys in the roster, despite the fact that I like a lot of the young depth on that Raptors roster. But what I said to you off air was I do think that just watching the film and looking and digging into some of the weeds of the advanced stats, I think current Colin Murray-Boyles is going to pretty easily be one of the 10 best rookies in the class, regardless, even if he's not getting the votes to make one of these all rookie teams. Hopefully he will. I would really like to see him on a first or second team. That's the reasoning why I didn't select him, but I'm not faulting your pick at all. Love the pick. Love the Walter Clayton pick. We're going to be talking about him. I'll be talking about him in a little bit. But when we return to the Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings podcast, Maxwell and I are going to discuss our all-rookie second team predictions. Stay tuned. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built's changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. I love that with Built, your rent finally works for you. You're earning points every month on something you already have to pay. Built has made everyday life feel more rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plans. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by joining joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use that link so they know we sent you. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. Let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. Skims changed all that. Their men's line offers something for everyone. From boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the Skims Stretch 5 boxer brief, and I'm hooked. These are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me, they never lose their shape, and stay in place all day. Whether I'm working out or just running errands, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com and let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Thank you for making Locked On NBA Draft Podcast with No Ceilings your first listen of the day. All right, Maxwell, time to shift our conversation to our all-rookie second team predictions. I'll start us off really quickly here. My second team, we already talked about Walter Clayton, who's on your first team. I've got him on my second team. I've got Con Knipple, the Charlotte Hornets. We've got Cedric Coward of the Memphis Grizzlies. Come on, Maluach of the Phoenix Suns. And Trey Johnson of the Washington Wizards. That's how I'm rounding out my all rookie second team. Maxwell, who do you got in your second team?
Okay, so I've got a couple guys you had on your first team. I've got VJ Edgecombe right here. With him, I just worry a little bit about opportunity. Like I think VJ, I had him 3 on my board pre-draft. I would keep him there. Like long term, he's still the guy I want. With Philly, it's just real tough to know what that team's going to be like this season. Not quite totally there as a point guard, a little bit small for a wing. We've talked a lot about how they need a wing defender. I don't know if he's quite big enough for that yet. That's going to be kind of Grimes' bag. I just don't know exactly what the role is going to be. I also have Nick Clifford on my second team. When we talked about Nick Clifford, one of the things you mentioned, you talked about the rebounding, the playmaking, and you also talked about the inconsistency of his shot. This is something I did a ton of research on for a piece on No Ceilings Plus like 2 years ago about the path to starter value for non-shooters. And the biggest thing is the guys who struggle with their shot or they aren't always consistent with it, they can do all of the other things. And that's what Nick Clifford does. He's going to defend multiple positions. He's going to make plays on defense. He's going to rebound. He's going to make great decisions. There are going to be times where the shot doesn't fall and it's going to be okay. He's going to weather those stretches. And I do think eventually he will be at least a league average shooter on solid volume. So I'm buying there. I wanted to get that out of the way because I'm a big Nick guy and I'm a big fan of his game long-term. I do have Con Knipple here as well. I've also got Common Malawak here. And I've got Cedric Coward here as well.
Let's go.
The Grizzlies are a team that have had a lot of injuries. Coward's my guy, former no stone unturned prospect as well. I had him 10th on my board pre-draft, I believe. So a guy that I was really high on. I think what we've seen from him this preseason, he struggled with the shot. I've seen a lot of people kind of like dunking on him for struggling with the shot. This is another one of those cases where everything else is there. He's looking really good defensively, especially away from the ball and key moments. Like, I'm totally buying the defense. And we've seen this guy hit like deep threes off relocation throughout his entire college career. If that thing starts going in, like we're cooking with gas, baby. Like I'm still very in on the Cedric Coward experience.
So the interesting thing with Cedric, when I was watching back some of the preseason tape, and I don't want to take this as something that I'm looking for out of every single game from him. Because granted, it was in some fourth quarters of preseason basketball. We know the type of competition that can be out on the floor for those minutes, but the way that he was getting to the free throw line and was an aggressive downhill driver, Maxwell, what was one of the biggest criticisms with Cedric Coward coming into the league was his ball handle, right? Yeah. Can he actually put the ball on the deck and do something with it? In the preseason, he's already shown he can do that. You talked about the shooting. He has all the shooting priors dating back to college and high school, the physicality, the 6'5" size. He has a strong frame, the 7'2" wingspan, some of the shots he's already been able to contest defensively. I just think he's going to be so good on that end of the floor that the ability to play him alongside Jalen Wells and have both of those guys opposite John Morant to have sort of that 1 through 3 on the perimeter, I think it's going to be too enticing for Memphis in the long term. I know Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's still there for Memphis. We obviously know that he's going to be the starter out of the gate. But if KCP has another one of those slump seasons like he had last year in Orlando where everything wasn't quite right, do they make a move and shift him to the bench if Cedric Coward's providing that type of defensive value right out of the gate, regardless of whether he's a rookie or not? Like Memphis last year, they weren't afraid to give Jalen Wells some of those tough assignments on the wing. No. And now you see him, he is guarding the other team's best perimeter player more nights than not. So why can't they provide some of that opportunity to Cedric? If he is hitting some of those perimeter shots, he's able to attack closeouts, get to the free throw line, do all that good stuff. I'll add a few notes. Con Knipple was a common thread for both of us on our second teams. Everything I've seen with him in a Charlotte Hornets uniform going back to Summer League, dude, he's been awesome, man.
He's really good.
He's just a really cerebrally sound basketball player. He makes all the right decisions. He plays well off of 2 feet like we talked about heading into the draft. He's a reliable finisher at the basket. The shot's going to be there for him. I still think he's making a few adjustments in terms of, volume behind the NBA's three-point line compared to the college line and the high school line. The shot's going to be there for him. Again, he has all those priors like college going all the way back through the high school and AAU stuff we have through Synergy, etc. He was like a 40+% three-point shooting guy on crazy volume. So he has those priors. And then he's built really well at 6'6", like you and I have talked about, to go back and forth with some of the other perimeter players' wings, be able to stand his ground defensively, bump some guys off. And I just think his overall impact, how he plays the game, he can move without the ball, make the right reads, keep the ball moving. He's not a ball sticks with me kind of guy. Everything about him is quick. I think he's going to be a breath of fresh air for the Charlotte Hornets, in particular, guys like LaMelo and Brandon Miller. They haven't been able to play alongside a guy like him quite yet. I just think he's going to make their lives so much easier. And Charlotte's just going to keep giving him opportunities because of what he can do for everyone else, not just for himself. Common Malawach, you ultimately brought me around to his case because you had him on your second team. You and I didn't have a long conversation off air about why you had him on your second team, but I dug into, it was a battle to the end between him and Jan Hansen for Portland. And I just think after I went back, I looked at some of the film, I was watching some stuff. I think Hansen might be a year away from starting to really realize how he can fit in with that Portland team. Not that he won't do cool things. He won't have some highlight plays or play some decent minutes for Portland in his rookie season. But I think with Malawach, I think he's proven out of the gate for Phoenix that he is ready to step into a center role. He's looked awesome around the basket. You're seeing the athleticism, the dunking ability, the rim protection. You're seeing all the things we were confident he could do at 7'2". He's translating them to the NBA level. Is he going to make some mistakes? Is he going to, have some late rotations if he has to come out in space? Is he going to have some guys challenge him and he might get in foul trouble some nights? Like, obviously, those are all things that rookie big men struggle with. But if he continues to play up to the level that he has, Maxwell, in the preseason, I could see Phoenix making a move within their center group, maybe moving off of one name and giving Malawach that ability to not start, but play a significant amount of minutes, 20 to 25 minutes in his rookie year and really provide some two-way value at the center spot.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at with him. I really thought long and hard about Jan Hansen. He's been phenomenal. Danny Wolf had like a really great preseason. That's another no-stone guy that I've always been really fond of. I think he could sneak in here. But yeah, I like Malawach. He just feels so like cut and dry, right? Like it's just a really massive man. I love how he's moving in the preseason. Like I thought there were times where he looked like a little clunky, a little slow off the floor and things like that at Duke. I don't think that's been the case in the preseason at all. I think it's very clear that he's made like just a continuous effort to improve his body. And yeah, he's going to own the glass. He's going to protect the rim and he's going to dunk a lot. And that's good. That's good basketball. I think he's ready to play good basketball out of the gate. Trey Johnson was the one guy that like I didn't put on here that I'm a little bit nervous about. Give me the quick sell on Trey Johnson, because I think he's like the inverse of Neek, right? Where it's like the shot is everything and there's not really a whole lot else. I do think he's a solid passer and he'll develop on that front through the years. But right now, I'm just not sure how much exterior value there is.
I'm apprehensive about it as well. I think it's ultimately going to be one of those, the voters just see the raw numbers that he's going to put up, the volume, how he's able to contribute and make a lot of shots from Washington right away. He couldn't end up being their second or third leading scorer on the team. Like, I'm not going to rule that out, even with guys like Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum already established on the roster. Where I hesitate, though, and why I wouldn't say anything to you about not having him on there, he might potentially be miscast in a role that's not for him, at least this year on Washington, because there really isn't an established point guard on this roster. Like, unless you're going to ask CJ McCollum to play heavy minutes at that point guard spot and not utilize him at all away from the ball, they're going to try Bub Carrington at that slot early on. I think you and I have gone back and forth a lot about we don't view him as a point guard. And so I think by default, we've seen the hit and miss of a lot of Bilal Coulibaly pick and roll possessions. Like we said, we have some questions about is Bub a point guard? If CJ is not playing that role consistently and for all of his minutes for the team, they're going to look to Trey Johnson to try and do some of that stuff. And I think right now, at least from what I've seen in Summer League and preseason, the scoring chops are awesome. He has some of that 2-foot game like Khan has. We know how the type of a shot maker he is, but from a playmaking perspective, I think the game's moving a little bit too fast for him in the NBA. And I'd be very careful about pigeonholing him into that type of a role, to where if you give him the ball at the top of the floor and it's just go, 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 you're not utilizing him in ways like we talked about with Ace Bailey. I think it might get a little murky to where the efficiency could pull him out of the conversation of like an all rookie second team slot. But for argument's sake, I'm going to put him there. I'm like you, man. I don't feel great about it, but at the end of the day, that's the last name that I settled on for that spot. So when we return to the Locked On NBA Draft and No Ceilings podcast, we're going to wrap up the show. We're going to touch on our Rookie of the Year picks. Stay tuned. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep the same number and contacts. I love that you're getting the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings podcast. All right, Maxwell, Rookie of the Year time. This is the big one. Who are the 3 guys that are filling out your specific ballot for Rookie of the Year? We can count down 3 to 1, and then I'll give my ballot. We'll see where we settle.
Okay, so number 3, I have Ace, who I think will score a lot of points. I think he'll rebound. I think the defensive playmaking will be okay. I think we'll probably see some shortcomings of the playmaking stuff like we've seen before. In number 2, I do think we're going to see Dylan Harper. I know the role might not be like the cleanest and the minutes might not really be there, but I think he's going to be awesome. It's so great to see him with like good teammates on a basketball court and the exciting things that he can do and how good the playmaking can be when guys make shots after he passes them the ball. And then at number 1, I think it's Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg's the guy for me. It's not the sexiest pick. It might be a little boring to you. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. I think this is a guy who is going to play out of the gate. I think he will immediately be a solid defensive player. I think he's a good decision maker. I do buy the scoring. I know he's had some issues with it, but I think the game is going to slow down for him just like it did at Duke. And I also think the opportunity is going to be quite large. This is a team that's had a lot of injury problems over the years. They're still a little bit like thin roster-wise. There's not a ton of depth here. I think the opportunity is going to present itself, and I think he's going to take full advantage.
We've already seen Point Cooper Flagg out of the gate for the Dallas Mavericks. And let me be very clear. We say Point Cooper Flagg. I've watched all the preseason film. There have been plenty of other guys who have brought the basketball up the floor for Dallas when he's been on the floor. So he's not exclusively, it's not heliocentric Cooper Flagg we're talking about when we use that phrase, but just in terms of how Dallas is comfortable utilizing him, putting the ball in his hands, letting him not only get downhill for easy scores that are set up for him, but really create some of those opportunities for himself and for others. He's been comfortable doing so. Yeah, he's had a few turnovers that he probably liked back, but I've been really impressed with the passing flashes I've seen from Cooper, the rebounding. I think the thing with him, and I got a little bit of funny pushback on social media when I tweeted this out, but the thing with him, Maxwell, that I didn't hear us talk about enough before the draft was how conditioned this guy is. Yeah. I mean, when we talk about him doing everything on the floor, running in transition, handling the ball in the half court, relocating for open shots, taking threes off the move, crashing the offensive glass, crashing the defensive glass. There isn't an aspect of the game in preseason that I haven't watched Cooper affect for the Dallas Mavericks. We saw a lot of that as well at Duke. It's a big reason why he's been this highly heralded prospect coming into the NBA. But we haven't discussed that aspect enough, and it's something that I feel like can get overlooked because they're professional basketball players. You expect them to be in shape. You expect them to be able to play like 25, 30, 35 minutes a night, but not to the level that Cooper's been doing it, because if that was the case and that was expected of everyone, then we'd see a lot more Cooper Flaggs in the NBA, and we don't. Like, he's special. He's special for a reason, Maxwell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm right there with you. I think that's really important. I think it's something that gets overlooked, and guys can inadvertently weed themselves out that way. We've talked a lot off the air about like, maybe I don't want to say this publicly about, player A or player B, but like, fitness wise, your fitness matters. It's an 82 game season. It's a long season. When we're not ready to play the pace of an NBA game, it's something you hear scouts talk about behind the scenes a lot. There's a lot of questions about if players are going to be able to keep up with the pace, but also the cardio. If you're going to play a big role and take on a lot of minutes early, you've got to have it. Cooper Flagg does.
100%. Dylan Harper, you and I agreed on, so I would fill out my ballot the same way. Dylan Harper 2, Ace Bailey 3. We talked about Ace with Dylan. I know he's going to be coming off the bench for San Antonio, but everything that I've already seen on tape, it's making me buy into Dylan even more. That's why I would have him firmly at number 2 in this class, right behind Cooper Flagg. We had him that way pre-draft. I feel the same way about him in the Rookie of the Year race. I feel so great about the way Dylan Harper's looked. You could talk me into a very long shot, dark horse, 6th man of the year type wager for Dylan Harper. If that starting backcourt holds true, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Dylan Harper is that first guy off the bench for San Antonio, I still think he's going to be so good. He reads out of pick and roll. He splits pick and rolls. He's a downhill driver, transition force. I think the spot up 3 is going to ultimately be there for him. Crafty player, rebounds on both ends of the floor. He's the type of, do it all big guard that NBA teams covet, that Maxwell Baumbach covets as an evaluator. That's who he is. And I think he's going to get every single opportunity for San Antonio. I think he's going to help them drive winning a little bit more than people would expect out of the gate. So keep your eyes on Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. One more very quick name to throw out, a deep rookie sleeper. If you're looking for someone fun to talk about around the water cooler, Maxwell was great at mentioning Memphis, the injury situation right now for the Memphis Grizzlies. Javon Small out of West Virginia, your favorite sleeper in mine. Maxwell talked about him a lot last year during the draft cycle for No Ceilings. Quite frankly, a lot of us did at NoCeilingsNBA.com. I wrote about him in a column when I was specifically picking out how to evaluate guards who end up being role players in the NBA. What does that actually look like from a statistical perspective, from a tape perspective? Javon was one of the guys I highlighted along with Walter Clayton, who we talked about. Keep an eye on Javon Small. That's all I'm going to say on this podcast. We'll talk about him at some point.
Yeah, I absolutely adore Javon Small. People know my takes about small guards. Do you know how good you have to be as a small guard for me to have you in the guaranteed
to get
contract
Maxwell's
tier
attention
on my board? That's how good Javon Small is.
100%. Couldn't have said that better myself, but that's going to do it for us. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every day. For your second listen, go find Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, thank you all for listening to the show. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.